Welcome to the Can You Even podcast, a space where real life stories prove that no matter what life throws your way, you can. I'm your host, Candisse McCormick, and as someone living with spinal muscular atrophy, I've faced my own share of challenges, but I've learned that with the right mindset, anything is possible. On this podcast, I have the privilege of sharing stories from incredible people who have faced life's twists and turns, overcome challenges, and found their own version of you can. These conversations are all about finding strength, hope, and purpose, even in the hardest moments. So get comfy, turn up the volume, and get ready, because these stories might just shift your perspective in a way you never saw coming. Hello. We are live. I'm going to sit very up straight because I'm battling my window. So otherwise I get weird strikes. So I'm so excited to introduce my guest for today's episode, Jessica Janzen. I feel like I could do a 15-minute intro about you and all the things, but I think mostly I'm just really honored to be able to call you my friend and have you in my corner being such an advocate for the SMA community. So thanks for joining me today. I am actually going to just hand it over to you to give people that maybe hear this and don't know who you are. You can just give your own little introduction because I think nobody introduces ourselves like ourselves.
And I love that you called me a friend, because I would definitely say that's what we're known for first. And we were able to connect through the SMA community. And I'm grateful for those moments and that we have developed a friendship, and we do a lot of work together for our charity foundation, Love for Lewiston. I was just saying before we press recording that you do a lot of volunteer work for us and help show up and are like an ambassador. And so I'm so grateful for that. So thank you for that. My name is Jessica Janzen. Obviously, like Candisse mentioned, I am a farm girl turned city slicker. I mean, I don't want to say I proudly own that title, but my dad says I've become soft, and I would concur with that statement. I think I have become soft, which is slightly embarrassing. A wife and a mother to three, two here on earth, one up in heaven, who passed away from spinal muscular atrophy 3 days shy of his 6-month birthday at Alberta Children's Hospice in the Rotary Flames Hospice House, which we're really grateful for their services and the facility. And then all of my titles would include like entrepreneur, speaker, coach, author, philanthropist. And I always say behind all of the titles, I'm a helper. I want to help. I want to help people become the best version of themselves. I want to help people make the moments count and to go all in on their dreams and to stop playing small. And so I don't love titles because I think like in terms of validation or letters and all of that, but I just got a big heart and I want to help, and I'm grateful to be able to do what I do.
Thanks. Honestly, you do have a really big heart, and I think that is actually what drives you forward. I think for everything that you do, if you didn't have a big heart, you wouldn't be able to do all the things that you do. And so I'm just really grateful for that and for meeting you and knowing you.
Candace, I forgot that you were doing video, and now I'm seeing how shiny I am. So also I'm like a little bit kind of crazy. So I'm like, well, quickly to shine so that people won't see this.
Don't need to on YouTube, but we'll see it. So you're good.
Okay,
It's
good.
real life. That's what I want this podcast to be about. It's about real life people with real life experiences, and no matter what that looks like for you, maybe you've had the loss of a child, maybe you were diagnosed with a debilitating disease, or maybe it's in business where you had this big dream for a business and it crashed and failed miserably. You're hard. You get to choose it and how you respond to it and react to it. So
I think that you're focusing on is I don't necessarily know if we always would choose our hard, but we choose our response in that. And I would say some hards you choose, and some hards you're just like, why the hell am I navigating this shit pile? But that's where you and I both have that in common of you do get to choose your attitude, your response, what you're going to do about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think my biggest thing too is like, I want people to know that like hard doesn't have to be some big, difficult, overwhelming, unbearable thing, because dealing with hard things is like dealing with a loss of whatever that was. And so I think like we'll dive into your story again a little bit about, for those that might not know your story, and how you got to this and talk about your hard things. Because I think when I read your book, Bring the Joy, there was things about you that I learned in there that I didn't know. Like you mentioned, our connection is through your foundation with Love for Lewiston. And so I knew the story of Lewiston, but I didn't know your other stories. So you've had some hard times and whatnot. So maybe if you can just share about wherever you want to start, to be honest, I think open it up where you want, because I feel like we could start at any point.
I know. I'm like, holy, I mean, you want to start back at the beginning? How much time we got? I think some part of my story that I am comfortable sharing, and because I know that I'm not the only one, and I'm so grateful that the conversation has changed and shifted. So I grew up on my parents' farm just west of Winnipeg. I'm proud to be a farm girl. I'm really proud of what my parents built. They are first generation farmers. My dad started with nothing. It wasn't handed down or just gifted to him. And I think that's a lot of where I get my hardworking grit and determination is from my father. I remember the years when he was growing the business of having to truck drive all winter because we didn't have a good year, and just, paying the bills and making it happen. And to see what my family, my brother now farms and is a partner there. He's also single and ready to mingle, so you could be my future sister-in-law. I just love putting that out there. But I love seeing what my parents have built. And so I grew up on this family farm, with incredible values and incredible family. All four of my grandparents were like part of the operation and helping. And, family dinners would have my dad's side and my mom's side, like pretty idyllic, like life with like a silver platter. I went to a private school, but in grade 11, I had struggled with bullying basically my whole life. And it seemed to really I hit a kind of tipping point, or like a major explosion, if you would, in grade 11, where I had suicidal ideations and had really dark thoughts. And one of them finally was just like, it's not worth it to be here. Like, to end the pain and the hurt and like not feeling like you fit in or where you belong would be just to not be here. And I broke my wrist, and I ended up getting prescribed prescription painkillers. I took the full bottle and was hoping that I would just go to sleep and never wake up again. And I wouldn't have to deal with the pain of going, where do I fit in? Like, I don't feel worthy. I'm too much for people and whatever. And thankfully, my mom found me, had come to say goodnight or whatever, and she raced me into the hospital because waiting for a rural ambulance could have taken a really long time. So she packed me in the car. And again, at that time, that was in 2001, mental health issues, especially in students, weren't talked about, especially somebody like me. And I didn't have the challenges of social media. Like, it was the challenges of this calling, or remember when you could hide someone's number and they'd be hiding the line and you're like, don't you think that Cassandra is such a jerk? And like, did you see what she was wearing? You're like, yeah, what Cassandra was wearing was weird. And then Cassandra was like, I'm in the line. Like, how just people would bait you into that. And so I can't imagine the challenges that our youth are facing now in an era of social media and TikTok and Snapchat and all of these different realms where there's just so much at them. But struggling with my mental health and having to figure out my brain wiring and my brain chemistry. And now as an adult, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, dyslexia, severe reading disability, and most recently PTSD. I'm sharing this publicly and I've never shared all of that. I just had a full psych ed assessment done. But in learning about those diagnoses, it's helped me understand that I am wired differently, and I'm not stupid. I'm not unworthy. I just approach a lot of problems very different than other people. And so obviously I'm still here. So I navigated the mental health stuff throughout high school. I never really had a core group of people. I just kind of bounced, and I've always been like that. And even I feel I just turned 40 this past summer. I feel like I found my flow in terms of being like, oh, it's okay that I don't have like one set group and like I'm always with these people. Like, I'm just like this plethora of amazing women, and I'm not part of a core group. I am a connector. And so it's okay that I'm not the first on everyone's invite list. And when I get included, I feel honored. And if I don't get included, I don't feel left out. I've just learned to be like, hey, that's not the event that I'm meant to be at. And I love being in the position that I'm in because I have this massive army of incredible people who have my back, and I know would go to the moon and back for me if I was needing help. And I have some really close core people sit at my table, and I give permission to speak into my life, and that we invest our time and energy into. So I'm really fortunate that way. But I had $300 in my bank account. I moved from Winnipeg off my parents' farm to Calgary with two other girls, not knowing anyone, no job, figured it all out, put like my first and last month's rent on a line of credit, maxed out my credit cards, was an idiot, had like 7 different jobs, Eventually met my husband at work. I thought he was an asshole. He thought I was a stuck-up B. I madly fell in love with the guy. He has a drug overdose. I invite him to church, and anyways, we start having kids. There's so much more to the story, but we have children. Our second gets diagnosed with a rare genetic disease. And the crazy part about my story, which I share a lot, is that 9 years before my own son got the diagnosis of spinal muscular atrophy, in my church, there was an opportunity to help and serve a family with 2 children that had spinal muscular atrophy. Never knew anything about it. And so for 9 years, I cared for, was involved with, and close friends. I even lived with them for a year. I lived in their house and helped do some childcare, and I brought them to my parents' farms a few times. Both Sean and Shanae had spinal muscular atrophy. And so when
That is just such a wild, wild story.
It's
Like,
not.
we haven't even dove right deep into it, but I think every time you tell this part, I'm like, how? How did you meet them? But I'll let you carry on so that people can maybe learn a little bit more about SMA and how it.
Yeah, I mean, I was familiar with SMA, and I remember the first time I went and helped this family. I got into my car and I was like, I have never been grateful for my legs. Never. Like, I've been like, oh, they're too fat. I wish they weren't so cellulite. You know what I mean? Like, especially as women, we are really, really critical. And so I'd never been thankful for my legs. I'm like, gosh, like I remember sitting in the car sobbing. And then 9 years later, basically, my own son gets the diagnosis. And the challenging part with our story is when the doctor delivered it, our son got the diagnosis at 2 months old. It was super severe. And they said, no hope, no cure, no treatment. We don't think he'll make his first birthday. Our role is just going to be to keep him comfortable until he passes. And you're like, sorry, what? Like, I was like, I'm sorry, like, what? Like, I know families with kids with SMA, they're fine. They're in wheelchairs, but like cognitively fine. They're in high school. Like, what do you mean my kid's not going to make it? And I know about kind of, and even within there's these different types. I didn't know the severity and how that would change. And losing Lewiston, he fought so bravely, and we made a difficult decision as a family. We said, if Lewiston has fight, we have fight. But if he doesn't have fight, we want to be okay to let him go. And so he passed away at Rotary Flames, November 22nd, 2016. And our response to his first birthday was to host this fundraiser and just be like, let's just write a check for 10 grand to the Alberta Children's Hospital. And so that is what we did. And we were super successful. We raised $42,000. You were actually one of our first recipients of the funds. We're like, Candisse, we have some money. We gave some to the hospital. Like, do you have a medical need, like a medical mobility need? And
I have to admit, like, not often are people that have the funds coming and reaching out to you to be like, hey, what do you need?
Well, totally. And now, I mean, we used to be like, hey, applications, come get funds. And as we've grown as a charity, we're recognized coast to coast. We're a registered charitable organization here in Canada, which is pretty incredible, is that we don't even talk about it. It's like, hey, just put the date online, because we're getting an overwhelming amount of applications, and they're everything from physiotherapy to wheelchairs, accessible vehicles, items within someone's home, like a lift to be able to go in and out of bed, shower chairs. And so it's been incredible to watch it grow. And since Lewiston's first birthday to where we are now, we're almost $3 million, which is pretty freaking amazing. And we're really, really proud of that. And in all of that, I've started a business, and I'm a keynote speaker and a coach, and I help executives and small business owners level up and find flow in their lives so they can access more joy and achieve their dreams and their goals.
That one thing that you were talking about here, sharing Lewiston's story, it's actually very mind-blowing to me. So I was diagnosed at like 15, 18 months. My parents were literally told exactly what you were told.
Right?
They were
and
like,
you still can.
Yeah. They're like, you'll be lucky if she sees your 5th birthday, and you very much like take her home, love her, and hope for the best. And even though they didn't leave you with a lot of hope, you did it. And so it's very shocking to me to know that. When did I meet you? Like, I was like in my 30s. 30 years later, they're telling people the same thing. And I get that at that time, we were just on the cusp of treatments being let out. And so
9 months later, Candisse, they approved treatment.
Yeah.
And the treatment, I mean, there's 2 treatments, Zolgensma and, oh my gosh, I'm escaping. Spinraza, thank you. I had Risdiplam, but that wasn't approved till a little bit later, I don't think. But like these treatments are life-changing. Children that are receiving it are running, they're walking, they're skipping, they're dancing. Like kids now get a diagnosis. I was like, oh, you good. Now, I don't want to discredit. There's still a lot of challenges, but like literally by 9 months, call it a year, had you gotten that diagnosis and you were able to access treatment, my son's whole life would have looked differently. And so timing is everything. And it was disappointing, but also I just feel like I've made such peace and radically accepted that this was how our story was meant to go. Do I wish my son was still here? 1000%. But Ronnie, my husband, we call him Hot Ronnie, we've talked about it several times and we go, as hard as it is, as crazy as it is, as much as we would want our son here, like we've both just radically accepted that like the hard thing has made us so much better. And it is how our story was supposed to go. I wouldn't choose it, nor would I recommend, but I'm a better human being. I'm a better wife. I'm a better mama. I'm a better just person because of the hard lessons that I had to learn in losing Lewiston.
Yeah. I want to say, like, when you can take us back to that time where you're learning about this diagnosis and facing the hard truth of him not living as long as anybody expected, what do you think were some of the tactics, tools, ways that helped get you through that tough time?
I know that you've heard me talk about this and, we've been at some events and able to do some cool stuff together. But one of the biggest things was not suffering in silence and being willing to ask for help. Like that is a game changer. And it's crazy to me that so many people struggle to open up and ask for help, or people are like navigating a cancer diagnosis, or they're navigating disturbing news, or they've lost their jobs. And I don't know if it's fear or shame, or they're worried about what people are going to think, or the judgment piece. But you don't have to just publicly share your story for everybody in the world to share, but we found so much power in that. And by that, I mean, was like, we didn't have to do the journey alone. And my husband has said this before. It's no secret. He had a severe drug overdose, couldn't get life insurance for a very long time because he had to be drug free for 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had life insurance and I was like, you can't die because we do not have life insurance for you yet because your past was so freaking crazy. So walk it down. And I mean, since his drug overdose, he has not touched a drug and I'm so proud of him. He doesn't even though weed is legalized, like he just won't touch it. And I'm so proud of him. But in that, where was it going with this, Candisse? Oh, suffering in silence. Yes. So this is the ADHD rolling squirrel, bird, what? Sunshine. Okay, the sun. But Ronnie had a drug overdose, severe, and probably should have died and was gifted another chance at life. And he did that journey so much in silence and so alone. He had his parents there, but he didn't share it with the people in the office. He didn't open up. That's how we connected. And he finally opened up to me, but he didn't want to talk about it. He felt really embarrassed. He felt really ashamed. I mean, there's lots of layers to it, lots of trauma and whatever. But in that, he said, navigating the loss of your own son, he was like, it was so much easier having community around us and not have to feel like I was alone. And no one wants to be like, hey, us over here, like, we can't pay our bills right now because I'm not working. Or like, hey, us over here, like, could you bring us a meal? Or could someone do our laundry? Or hey, us over here, like, our leg's a dumpster fire, but could, someone do our yard? Like, no one wants to do that and look like the idiot because it's like,
no, it's like this. I have been trying to bring myself to talk about this exact topic many times now. And I think like people see me and get to know me and learn that I have this physical disability and I live my life with SMA. And I've always been somebody that just projects that like I'm living my life, people, and screw SMA, like whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to be independent and I can make things happen even if
I'm going to show you that my disability is nothing. But I actually have a very hard time asking for help. And I need a lot of help. I need help with basic day-to-day tasks. And so I can understand where you don't want to ask, because there is some like shame, or I don't even know. For
You
me,
don't
it's
feel
like
like
the
a burden.
burden.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, but I already asked for help. And so then when I think I need to ask for help for these simple day-to-day tasks, I don't want to ask somebody to shovel my sidewalk. Then there's also the flip side to this. And I'd be curious to know if you agree or if Ronnie agrees. But you don't want to ask because you almost wish that people would just do it without you asking. Like, just show up and shovel the sidewalk. Just show up and, like, I know you talk a lot about this. Show up with a meal. Send a skip the dishes card. It'll get you.
And so many people will be like, let me know if I do this. Even I speak on this about stage. I have a whole chapter in around my book. And then I'm like, I catch myself doing it. I was like, damn it, just solve the problem. So it's like, let me know if there's anything I can do. And someone's in a bit of crisis. And what do? Let me know if you need anything. Everything and anything.
Yeah.
And so that is the challenge, is I think it's so easy to just offer, hey, let me know if there's anything. You're like, yes, totally. It's also hard to take the phone, call, text somebody and say, hey, I'm not doing okay. And here's a prime example. This just happened to me in November. I'm like, dude, I'm able-bodied. Like, I got a lot of things, but you also know I'm the queen of asking because I find zero shame. I was like, people want to help, they'll help. They don't help, they don't. My husband gets embarrassed by now how good I am at asking. Like, I'll be like, you're straight in the parking lot, but you're able-bodied and I need to bring in all these containers. It would be so much faster if you came and helped me to my truck. And my husband's like, you're just asking the random guy in the park. Like, no, don't. And I'm like, what? What's out? But Adam Grant has this quote and he says, we don't want to ask because we don't want to be a burden to other people, but often, especially in teams, it's actually a sign of trust and an expression of that. And you can build better culture and deepen relationships. And what I know to be true is Lewiston's death anniversary comes up on November 22nd. I had so many beautiful text messages, and even from my close friends. And one of the texts was like, hey, if you need anything, please let me know. And I had this nudge and I was like, God, you need help getting the rest of the Christmas decor because you get home from this. We take this little night away in the mountains as a family. I was getting home, leaving for a trip. And then the moment I landed, my parents were going to be in town and I wanted the house set up and ready for the holidays. I didn't want it to be like, oh, sorry, the Christmas decor. And I didn't finish and the Tupperwares and the Rubbermaid. And so when my friends sent that text, hey, if there's anything that we can do, like, let us know. I picked up the phone. I was like, hey, this is a hard phone call for me to make. I just want to say there is something. It's okay if you're not able to fill this need, but I have not finished setting up my Christmas decor. My trees and ornaments are all up. It's just like my garlands and like, the little tchotchkes that you put all around the house. They need to be done. And I don't have the time or the capacity because I'm away with my family. And my girlfriends stepped in such a huge way. But I told myself, oh, you're going to be burdened. Oh, they're not going to want to do that. And like all the things. And they stepped in and it was such a blessing. And one of the best areas that I asked for help, I was very specific, but I also attached no meaning if they weren't able to do it. Now, grateful. My friends were like, yeah, we're squeezing it in between a dinner and a workout. Of course, we'll make it happen. Like, let's go. But that's not always the case. And I could have been like, they don't care. They don't love Lewiston. They don't love me. But I think just learning to let go of a lot of ego and a lot of like the stories that don't serve us is a huge way where I think you tell yourself the story. Like, I don't want to be a burden. I've already asked. Oh, they're going to get annoyed with me. I should be able to do this on my own. I used to be able to do this on my own.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And I think like that's a big thing. And I also am working to develop this mindset of like, if I ask and they say no, it's okay. If I continue to ask for different things and it's still always no, those people are maybe not supposed to be there anymore.
And the people that you're going to keep asking because clearly they don't want to or have capacity or they're not in the position to. And so then it's like, okay, I'm not going to ask them anymore. And even when they say, let me know if there's anything I can do to help, you're like, they don't actually need it. And you move on to the next.
Totally. They don't even get put on the list to maybe ask for help. No. I'm just keeping an eye on the time because I know you're a busy lady and have to go on to other things. I wanted to chat a little bit about,
wait, I hate the word busy. Sorry. You know that. We've been friends for a long time. I'm not busy. My schedule's full and I booked at a meeting after this that I've committed to get to. But my therapist does say, Candice, just so you know, I do need to allow for more buffer. But with living with ADHD and time blindness, yeah, if you get close enough, is it better?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Living with ADHD and time blindness, I do pack my schedule, but I'm really intentional with my schedule. It's not big. So, yeah.
Okay. So, with that being said, I really wanted to touch base. So, through your loss of Lewiston, you then started the Love for Lewiston Foundation. I feel like when you first started it, it literally was, we're going to do a birthday party and we're going to get back to the Alberta Children's Hospital. And there was no kind of like steps or next things to happen after that. What made you decide to continue forward to grow Love for Lewiston to what it is today? And being part of that community and knowing you as a friend, I know that there's been some struggles and hard times through growing that. Can you maybe speak to that a little bit? Because I think it's important for people to know that, like, although the Instagram feed is popping and we're doing all these great things for the SMA community, it takes a lot of work and dedication and time. But yeah, and it's hard work. It's not easy.
No, and I think people see the moments of glory. They see the confetti cannons. They see me running into Anton's arms. There's this donor. He's amazing. And they always do a matching thing. And they matched 35 grand last year. And we raised 70 grand. And what was it, like 15 minutes?
Like, yeah.
10 minutes? I mean, 70 grand in 10 minutes is really good money, especially where I come from.
Yeah.
And they see those moments and they don't see the moments when I'm like, God, I'm exhausted. I haven't poured enough into my kids. And I have to prep for a board meeting. I absolutely hate that stuff. Like I hate admin, hate numbers. Like I just want to do the fun things. And then we started in, I remember the thought where the thought was like, man, if we can raise 42 grand in a night honoring Lewiston, why couldn't we raise 100 grand? And like, these are just, they're numbers.
Yeah.
And I knew from Ashawn and Shania helping this family, how difficult it was to access funding. It was like, oh, well, we won't get approved for that. I was like, well, why not? I also remember being in the hospital fighting for funding to be able to get home care and support at home, and they deemed us not eligible. And I remember in that meeting, I wanted to flip the table, like a scene out of like, a movie. But totally. I don't remember the exact words, but I just remember thinking, I don't want to spend my time fighting to prove to you I'm worthy. I want to spend time with my child who needs. And for me, I think because I knew the weight of that challenge and pull for parents and even for yourself, where it's like, I'm so exhausted fighting for the resources I need just to be able to live. Like, why do I have to continue to prove that I'm worthy then to be denied? And I think it's this like horrible thing where you're basically like someone stamping a piece of paper, essentially. They don't even meet you in person half the time. They just are looking at freaking paperwork. And I think they look at paperwork and they look at their budget and they're like, I think she's okay, denied. And on to the next. And it's like, could you just live their life for 24 hours? Just spend 24 hours in a chair and then tell me I'm not worthy of care of someone coming to my house to make sure I can go to the bathroom or get in and out of bed. And so I remember how heavy that felt, like a weight. I mean, call it a burden. It felt like it was a burden that I was like, I have to solve this problem. Now, I have wrestled with, gone through a lot of therapy of like, it's okay that I can't play God because I want to. I want to be like, I will rescue you all. I will find housing and I will accommodate every accessible need and fix every sidewalk and make sure every physiotherapy and I will give you therapy. And that has been something I wrestle with because I love solving problems. I love helping. And it is hard for me because this last year, we still haven't run the full numbers, but we didn't hit our fundraising goal. And for the first time ever, I took my foot off the gas in a big way because I need to take care of myself, my mental health, my family, my children, my husband, my relationships. And I need to drop my shoulders. And I think 5 years ago, I would have been like, you're a failure. You're a fucking loser. You're not worthy. You're not good. And you're letting all of the SMA community down. And this year, I just told myself a different story, which was like, hey, you did really good work. And here's what you did raise. And you can tell yourself it won't be enough. And for me, I love this song from The Greatest Showman, Never Enough. It's like, never enough, never, never. I'm like, that's the story of my life. Because I'm a person, I'm wired differently. I'm neurodivergent, want the dopamine hits. I want bigger, I want better. And I've had to do a lot of self leadership, a lot of work with my therapist, a lot of work with my coaches of being like, it's okay if you do not land this goal or crush this event or dominate this world. And it doesn't mean that Jessica's a failure. It just meant this is what we had capacity for this year. And you and I mentioned, we sat on a call and we said, what are the needs and how can we serve? And there was like probably 50 good ideas on there. And I was like, I love all these ideas. Well, I'm going to let you know we're a team of like 1.5. And by 1.5, I mean, we're basically made up of a bunch of my amazing friends who have the most incredible hearts that don't even have children of their own living with SMA. They just love me or are delusional, or I've like, hypnotized them into continuing to help. That I'm like, this is the capacity what we have for, and we're doing the best that we can with what we got, with where we're at. And I am grateful. And so as much as I was on this trajectory to grow and double every year, or then grow by another 100,000, grow by another 200,000, I'm like, hey, we're going to serve in this sweet spot. There's a huge list that I would love to continue to do and fulfill. And as I grow my business, maybe there's a way we grow this, but for the next year or two, I'm going to be okay that we're like going to set up some healthy boundaries so that I can be a really good and present mama. Because people don't see that. My kids are like, why isn't mom home again? Why can't mom take me in? Oh, mom's at another networking event. Oh, mom's at another charity event. Oh, mom's prepping and at the storage locker room late. Or, oh, why is your house chaotic? And it's really great because we have involved them in this. And this is a team effort, including our nanny is a huge part of it that people don't give her credit. But we're in this sweet spot where I'm learning to make peace and to learn that it's like, it may look different than what I've had pictured or envisioned. It may not be bigger, better every year. But in this area, I'm really proud of what we're doing, and I'm going to focus on the wins and the celebrations. And we're really proud that we have an incredible board, incredible community, and incredible donors who continue to step up and show up for us. And in that, I want to focus on the joy, not on the misses.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, I think that is a big thing. And we can take this into any aspect of our life, of like setting a goal. And if you don't quite achieve it, you set a big goal and you still achieved a good chunk of it. And when it comes to the foundation and the money raised and the funds that you spend, those funds that you spend are really making an impact. It's not, I don't want to diminish other people's goals, but like if you set a goal to lose 50 pounds and you only lose 45, still you did a fantastic job.
Lost 25. It's like, okay,
only 5. Let's be real. Like if you lost any, you've done executed something. But the way that the Love for Lewiston Foundation and the funds that are spent impact our lives is more than 5 pounds. Do you know what I mean? I share the story often, and it's funny because most of the time I'm like, I don't get why this story makes such a big impact because it's just my life. But like getting the automatic doors that I can get in and out of my house, something that I lived with for 40 some years, never easily being able to enter and exit my house, didn't really think much of it until one day I got frustrated about it. And then we did this. And when I share that story and people are like, whoa, what a simple thing that is hard for you, but you deal with it and overcome it every day, to I can donate and support a foundation that's going to give her the button to push and my door automatically opens. So I think lots of times we just need to remember to focus on the wins and the successes. And even though we don't hit those goals, I think the other thing for people to know is when you see all the confetti cannons and birthday cakes and all those fun things on the Instagram, you also don't see all the requests coming in.
Or they don't see Ronnie having to have these difficult, like the days when Ronnie does funding applications, like he will come home wrecked. Mm-hmm. Like he already does an incredible job of loving on our children, but like he'll just hold Hollis and I'll also be like, Dad, let go of me. Dad, let go of me. Like I'm going to go play. And you can just see, because Ronnie sees how good we have it. He understands that. And he's wrecked by how difficult and challenging it is for some of these families, for some of the most basic things that are not, I mean, it's mind blowing. I will say Muscular Dystrophy Canada is doing an incredible job of presenting better research, of being like, okay, we can't solve all the problems, but what's one problem that we could focus on? And better accessibility or better job of getting wheelchairs. Like the government deems that going up and down in your wheelchair and that should just remain the same height is like a luxury. I was like, are you kidding? It's a luxury to be able to reach an item on the top of the shelf in a grocery store? I'm sorry. And so I think just having those moments and just like saying, okay, like what is that we can focus on? And so there's a lot of behind the scenes things. And what I would just say is I've also made peace with the timeline. And I think whether you're losing weight, whether you're growing the business, often what happens is we'll set a big goal. And then I set 2 big goals, both in my business and for the foundation. I didn't hit either of them. Now, you were to look at my life from an external purpose, you wouldn't be like, oh, you're a failure, you're not worthy. You'd be like, man, you crushed your year. I set some big goals. And rather than making it mean like, I'm not worthy, oh, I should give up, it didn't happen in the timeline. I'm just like, okay, I missed the mark. I only got this much of the goal done. Okay, what can change, tweak, and adjust? And I'm going to continue to focus on the goal. And I'm going to keep going on it. And it didn't happen in the time frame, but doesn't mean I'm going to quit on it.
Totally. Again, keeping an eye on the time for you. I'm going to do a double question here.
Yeah.
In closing, if you could leave us with one message that people will listen to inspire them to know that whatever they're going through, they can, because that's the whole mission of this podcast, is to teach people that no matter what hard situation you're in, you can overcome it. So what is one message or piece of advice that you can give to them? And then in closing, where can people find you, the Love for Lewiston Foundation, all that good stuff?
I always go with my gut, and I'm reading a really great book. I wanted to pull something from my book, but I'm reading Level Up by Ryan Leake. He's one of my new favorite follows on social, and I adore his work. And here's what I will say is that you probably are going to walk through a lot of hard in your life. And if you can make peace with that, that's the first thing I would offer you is make peace with your life is about problem solving. Now, my problems to solve are going to be different than Candisse's. They'll be different than Sandra's and Sally's and Susie's. So make peace that life is about problem solving. Have fun while you're doing it. And the thing that shifted, but I think he captures it so well. For me, my whole message is about bring the joy. And I believe that you can bring the joy to death. I believe that you can bring the joy to work, to your crazy boss, to your wacky family. I believe you can bring it all. And I would hope that more people would do that. But it starts with you. And one of the most powerful questions that I've gotten out of this book that Ryan Leake wrote, it's called Level Up, is what is it like to be on the other side of me? And it's like, whew. And that has hit home because it's like, I can't control other people. I can't control my parents, my children. I mean, your children, yes, to an extent, but like, you really can't control those things. And so what I am in control of me. And so when it's like, well, what is it like to be on the other side of me? That shifted. And I remembered asking myself a question for Lewiston. We were in the hospital. I said, if that was me in that bed and I couldn't speak and I couldn't move, would I want that environment and energy to be like? And I said, I wouldn't want it to be sad. I wouldn't want it to be a pity party. Like I would want it to feel like if this is all we got, like, let's make it count. And so this is all you got, which is right here, right now. What is it like to be on the other side of you? I think could be a question that changes everything for people this year and beyond. And so I would leave them with that. And if you're curious about our work, about our amazing events, where the confetti cannons go off, if you want to see Candisse and I hanging, ripping it up on the dance floor, May 24th, we're going to be at the Ampersand and we're so excited. We've got another year and our incredible, amazing group of my girlfriends, our volunteers that have been doing this for 9 years. They get nothing other than I think they feel really good in their hearts, but there is no special prize for them or trophy. They get a bad card from me with 2 coffee coupons that says 8 more years to go. Thank you. I love you. But you can connect with me on my website. It's jessicajanzen.ca. You can book me there for speaking, for coaching, executive and small business. And then again, if you want to make a donation, check out loveforlewiston.ca. We're really proud that we have stayed a small grassroots charity, but has had massive impact. And so you can learn more about our work there. And then you can bug Candisse. I mean, she knows how to get a hold of me.
I would track her down for you for sure.
Yeah. So I just want to say, Candisse, like this is part of it. Is like one of the things that helps me feel incredible and like gets me fired up is seeing you stepping into things that you're dreaming about doing and not creating excuses, but removing the barriers. And you got a hell lot more barriers than the majority of the, average like white chicks like me who have working legs and thick thighs and everything handed to them. So let me be clear. I haven't had everything handed. I've worked dang hard, but
I was just going to say.
Yeah, but being said, I'm really proud of you. And I hope that this encourages and inspires other people to step in. And like one thing I've seen you is not create excuses of getting creative about it may look different, but you're going to do it. So I'm honored to be here and I can't wait to hang out again. And we should do a plug for peer-to-peer because you share some really incredible knowledge. Love for Lewiston has a project. It's called Peer-to-Peer, but we're talking about accessibility and living independently. And I think Candisse shares more of her story there. So maybe put it in your show notes as well.
Yeah, definitely. We will check it out. Thank you so much for coming on here. I feel like this was one of my easiest and hardest podcasts to record because like I know you and I feel like we could talk for 5 hours and share all of the things. So thank you for taking time out of your day and making time to come on here. And I'm really excited and grateful and thankful for everything that's to come that you are offering. So I will talk to you very soon.
Thanks, girl. All the best.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Can You Even podcast. I hope you're walking away feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to tackle your own You Can moments. If you loved this episode, be sure to follow, rate, and review the show. It helps me reach more people who need a little extra You Can energy in their lives. And hey, if you have a story to share, I'd love to hear it. Head to itsmecandisse.com/podcast to apply to be a guest on the show. Until next time, remember, no matter what life throws your way, you can.